Hello and welcome to Homer for Sunday, October 26th, 2025. Today we are going to be reading from lines 457 to 471 in Book 12 of the Iliad, which is going to close out the book and offer us some great opportunities to comment on what it means for continuity. Thank you so much for being here with me today, and let's get right into it. He came and stood hard by, and planting himself, smote them full in the midst, setting his feet well apart, that his cast might lack no strength. And he brake off both the hinges, and the stone fell within by its own weight, and loudly groaned the gates on either side. Nor did the bars hold fast, but the doors were dashed apart this way and that beneath the onrush of the stone. And glorious Hector leaped within, his face like sudden night, and he shone in terrible bronze wherewith his body was clothed about, and in his hands he held two spears. None that met him could have held him back, none save the gods, when once he leapt within the gates, and his two eyes blazed with fire. And he wheeled him about in the throng, and called to the Trojans to climb over the wall, and they hearkened to his urging. Forthwith some clomb over the wall, and others poured in by the strong-built gate, and the Danans were driven in rout among the hollow ships, and a ceaseless din arose. Great, let's do it in the Greek. Ste de malengusion caere samenos balemessas, au diabas in ameu voia fau toron, fau rotoron beloseie, rex serafam poterus taerus pesede litos vesso, Prito sunne megadam fipulaim conduor arokeies. Escetheten sanidest diet magna ludis alle. Lau supporri peis horraustet dore paedimos Hector. Nuc dithoe atalanto supopia lampere calcoi. Smerda levoi ton vesto peri croidoia de cersi. Durachendua cantis menaru cacananti bolessas. Nos viteon hotesalta pulas perido sedereie. Cecleto troes in elixamenos cathomilon. Techo superbainen torto trunon tipithonto. Articatoimen techo superbas anhoi decatautas. Oietas esuchon topulas da noe de phobethen. Neas anagla puras homados da liastos atuchthei. Great, had some hiccups in some of the early lines there, but that's life, and we only give it one take here on the Homer YouTube channel. Otherwise, we'd be here all day. But wouldn't that be a perfect day, spending the whole day reciting Homer? Yeah, so we made it in. Let's talk about the action sequence here. Ste de malengusion. So going forward, he stands right beside Caere samanos palimessas, and stealing himself, he casts it in the center, the stone. Oh, diabas, right? So he's spread widely well, right? Hina me hoya pau rotoron beloseia, such that the throw, the belos, is not going to be a bad one. And he breaks the two thyroi, right, or the thyrus here in the accusative. He breaks the two hinges, by its heaviness, the stone then follows through. Megadam fipulai mukon and then the gate groans. What about this idea of the gate groaning? Mukon. And neither of the holding things on the side could hold it, could hold it, let it be held, right? Sanides tetiet magana ludisale, right? So the planks, sanides, are cut. Diet tmagen. Tmagen is one of those words that sounds like what it is. Tma, tama, to get to tau to mu, you kind of cut, right? Diet tmagen aludisale. Aludisale is one of the cooler endings to these lines. In one way or another, so the wood is breaking open, right? And then, it's from the cast of the stone, la subachri pes. And then great shining Hector goes in there. So I think that back to the conversation of what it means to overcome something, the overcoming of the wall is done by the power of Zeus giving to Hector the strength to pick up this massive rock, which he casts into the two gates. The two gates break, and he himself is now in the middle, right? And now he's doing all this stuff. And the ability to think about the gate as calling out Mukon, I think is quite significant. Why does the gate groan? You would think that Homer would make room for other noises, like, oh, aren't they surprised? Aren't they going to shout at the fact that their gate is broken? Because he doesn't just open the gate, right? He just destroys the hinges of the gate, so the gate just goes all the way in, right? That's a big difference. It must have been a large cast of the rock right into the middle there, right? And then when he's in there, we immediately go from sound to sight, actually, when we get to the human aspect. So he's got two spears in his hands. Once again, we have two spears, right? I think that this is put in opposition to the two gates, right? And he's shining. Nukti toe, right? Hector nukti toe, atalanto supopia, right? So he's got this, what is this? His face like sudden night. Quick oncoming night. What kind of color is this, right? Night doesn't really have a sound, but how do you sensorially describe the oncoming of quick night? The oncoming of quick night is also, as we read about in the Peloponnesian War, like this would be like an eclipse. An eclipse can, bring upon night. So it's a big change. It's a significant change, and it doesn't bode well for the Achaeans, right? But I think it's interesting, this wonderful description of Hector. Once again, we have this, nobody can stop him as mortals are today. None except for the gods, nos viteon, right? So except for the gods, nobody can stop him. Hotasal to pulas, so he leapt to the gates. And puridose de de. We have discussed this on the Homer channel before, but eyes are never described as being fireful unless it's in this form ose, right? So this dual form of the ose, once again, two here, two shining eyes, two spears, the gates are broken, and he's running in, right, to fight the Danans. And his friends are following him. So they're convinced by him, right? And he himself is, within. He's whirling around. And then I really like this word at the end here. Right? Forthwith some climb over the wall, and others poured in by the strong-built gate. Poietas, right? It's almost as if we are, speaking to the conclusion and continuity aspect, we are reaching the end of a very significant stage of the great battle here, which is the compromising of the gate. And I love that there is the word poetry, poietas, is used here. So homodos, aliastos, an unending sound is rising up. This is in opposition to the fact that the book and the narrative comes to a close here. But of course, we begin with book 13 tomorrow. But I think, the question is, did the poet actually stop here? If the poet did stop, what was the stop like? And might the fact that this is a ceaseless din, might that have to do with the closing? I think we will learn more once we think more about what Zeus has to say in tomorrow's Homer episode. With that, I leave you with these analyses of the gates and the wonderful shining Hector. And as a question for you, I would then ask, what is the last time that what is the next time that you want to barge in through a gate, and then with your eyes shining like fire and your visage like quick oncoming night, stand amongst the throng and encourage everybody to follow with you? May there yet be a case for us all to engage in that heroism. Thank you so much for listening to the Homer YouTube channel today, and I hope you have a wonderful day. Take care, and I'll see you tomorrow. Bye.